One of the topics being discussed these days is about finding an effective solution to mitigate annual inflation in Sri Lanka. Johns Hopkins University professor Steve H. says that Sri Lanka has the second highest annual inflation rate in the world. The only country above us is Zimbabwe. Today, we are going to talk about the establishment of a currency board in Sri Lanka, which, as Steve has repeatedly said, is an effective solution to alleviate the 124% annual inflation in Sri Lanka. Professor Steve says in many of his tweets that Sri Lanka should establish a currency board soon. So let's see what a currency board is. To explain the currency board or the monetary board exactly, we have to go back to the history of money creation. You all know that in the past, we used coins like gold and silver as money. The issuance of new currency means the use of new gold. In those days, these coins were actually made of gold, so it did not matter how many new coins were issued to the market. For example, a pound of gold has the value of a pound of gold. We now use coins and notes as currency. If we take 1,000 rupee note there, it is not really worth 1,000 rupees. The paper on which the note was made, the design, the ink, and the printing cost is about 300 rupees. It's just a piece of paper. Therefore, the central bank tells us that legally this piece of paper is worth rupees. They write on it and says that this is valid for any transaction within Sri Lanka and add the signatures of the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the Central Bank to give it a legal value. Similarly, to give value to this piece of paper, the Central Bank usually attaches the note to a strong currency such as the dollar, pound sterling, and gold. We call this an economic peg. So the central bank cannot print money the way they want to. Suppose our rupee is attached to the dollar. Then the total stock of money in the country is determined by the dollar reserve in the country at that time. If the reserves were $200 million, then the domestic rupee would have to be about the same size. If all of a sudden our dollar reserves increase by $300 million to $500 million, then the central bank will be able to print the same amount as the increased $300 million. That story is called the currency board. When you hear that it's a board, it's a bit like people working around a table. But actually, the currency board is a legal framework. In a country with a currency board, it is the same whether there's a central bank or not. Because in this legal framework, money is printed only according to the amount of reserves the country has. So what do you think about establishing a currency board in a country? Comment your ideas below. If you'd like to get recent updates like this, like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching Learn with Abhya.